things that are easy, like sitting on the Netflix, ordering a pizza, having it delivered, and, ignoring all the work that I have to do is going to be easy for you now, but long term, it's going to be very bad for you and your business. So when I think about my discipline, I try to make those choices. What's going to be hard for me to start now? Starting a workout always stinks.
Hello, fabulous person. Beate Chelette here, the Growth Architect. Welcome back to the Business Growth Architect Show, where we bring you cutting-edge business strategies from some of the world's most successful entrepreneurs, business transformation experts, and visionaries who want to help you to scale your impact. Look for one tangible strategy that you can take back and implement right away. And now back to our guest. Hello and welcome back. This is your host, Beate Chelette, and this is the Business Growth Architect Show. Today, we have Mike Montague on my show, and I am so excited to have a more playful episode. Let's just put it this way. Mike, welcome, and thank you so much for being here. And tell everybody, what do they need to know about you?
Sure. Thank you, Beate. It is really exciting for me to be here, and I like talking about this topic for sure. Most of my career in my adult life has been around business growth. I work for Sandler Training. So we do, sales training for companies. And I've been doing that for 11 years. I am one of their public faces. I host the podcast there, How to Succeed podcast. And I do all the public trainings, big workshops and things for large companies like Uber or Thermo Fisher Scientific. But in the last couple of years, the other thing you need to know about me is what you mentioned about the playful stuff. So I invented a company called Playful Humans as my COVID baby over the last 2 years, but I've been playing my whole adult life. So I started on the radio and DJing karaoke shows and weddings and stuff in my 20s. I opened for Billy Idol and Frankie Valli and played Toby Keith's Bar and Grill. I now host game shows for companies, either online or in person here in Kansas City, or you can hire me to come out, and we do corporate team building events and stuff like that through classic TV game shows. And so it's been a super fun career, but it is really, for me, all about becoming the best version of ourselves and building our company to make an impact and to do something worth telling people about or worth pursuing with your life's energy, right?
So you already touched on so many things. So we already have 65 things to unpack. So I think what immediately stood out to me, Mike, is that you talk about something that a lot of people, I'm going to put this, I think, in parentheses, really love doing, which is sales. And then you go and you say, let's all play and have fun. So there's going to be a lot in there. So the idea about the sales part, which is a lot about strategies and techniques and connection and relationship building. And then there's the playfulness. So talk to me about, what is strategy for you? What does it mean in your work and in your personal life and with your COVID baby?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question for how I approach life, because I would say that it has changed. 11 years ago, I was really into social media marketing strategies and sales strategies. And Sandler definitely teaches that. We teach techniques and strategies and behaviors, but we also have this attitude component in our success triangles. And that's the one that jumped out to me, that I noticed, if we just think about the Pareto principle and the 80-20 rule, what I've kind of noticed is, when people are working in their strength, when they're playful, when they have the right attitude, they take care of the big rocks. Everything else takes care of itself. You can outsource things you don't like to do, or you can shore up your weaknesses by finding teammates or other systems or processes to work on those. But my strategy that I would just like to share with everybody today is kind of living in your strengths and your playfulness, the stuff that makes you come alive. There's a great quote by a former Supreme Court judge named Howard Thurman. He said, "Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive, and then go do that. Because what the world needs is more people who have come alive." So it's such a great quote, but I think that's really my strategy for almost everything now, either whether it's in sales or customer success or business or even accounting and spreadsheets. Like, do what makes you come alive, because you're going to do your best work. You're going to do other things that we all talk about as optimizing things. You're going to practice. You're going to play with it, get creative. You're going to work hard when you need to, and you're going to put your full energy into it when you love something. When you don't, I've just found over the last 11 years of consulting, especially in sales, if you don't believe in the product, if you think the marketplace stinks and nobody's buying what you got, if you don't believe in the company you're working for or your own sales ability, it doesn't matter what technique or strategy I give you. It's not going to work because your heart's not in it and you're not attracting the right kind of energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I have such a great example because what I did is I kidnapped my fiance and I booked us into a golf resort. Now, neither one of us plays golf. And the whole point was that I wanted to be the main and the only attraction for the weekend away. So he couldn't go anywhere and do anything other than, in your words, but play with me and do things. So we went to the zoo, we did fun things. We, of course, and I didn't know this when I signed up, this was sort of the timeshare in disguise. And so the sales guy shows up. Number one, he humiliated us. Number two, it was like everything in the sales book of stuff where you go like, do they even still do that anymore? What kind of homework do you need to do? Are you still in school? And I'm like, did he just say that to us? So it was these things, and I'm thinking, this is to your point. So if I approach something from the perspective of the strategy, what's the biggest closing strategy? And clearly in this particular company, and then when we did our homework, we found out how much bad reputation that they had, rightfully so. Everybody said the same thing. They all had the same experience. So guess what, Mike? Their sales training to their salespeople is that shock and awe, humiliate them, shame them into proving something. And so to your point now, what would you say to somebody who goes like, yeah, but Mike, come on, this is a job. I need the job. Okay. This is the way we're doing it over here. You telling me I need to be in my strength, but I need the job. What do you tell them, Mike?
So I think there's two things: the individual and the organization. On this show, you're talking to a bunch of leaders and organizations that need to optimize the performance of their employees. Here's what I know. People working in their strength that are engaged in their job perform 35% better than those who are not. And people that are trying to shore up their weaknesses and working really hard at stuff they hate actually perform 26% less effectively than the average employee. So if you just want to shift your results, that's a massive 50% increase in just putting people in the right seats, right? That's not revolutionary consulting advice, but doing what people love gets better results. It's scientifically proven in research studies over and over and over again. Now, when I think about individuals, there is a certain threshold, right? I was a starving artist in my 20s. Radio pays so bad. My highest base salary was $20,000. And where I live, it takes about $42,000, I think, to live comfortably and not worry about paycheck to paycheck and go backwards. So I had to do a lot of other things that some I liked and some I didn't like to make up that extra money. I had to do endorsements and live deals, and I had to work weekends and nights doing other things or freelance and do extra work just to make ends meet. And I think there is a certain part of a job that we all need to realize we're not going to like. So I hate the quote, if you find what you love, you'll never work another day in your life. I think that's complete BS. I mean, I'm a big football fan, and we just watched Patrick Mahomes play, and he loves what he does. He's getting paid like $500 million to play football. But guess what? I'm still sure there's days that he doesn't feel like practicing, or he's got to pay his taxes, or he's got to go do a press thing because there was some story broke that he doesn't want to talk about, right? There's still days he's not going to like what he's doing and there's a job. So if it's temporary, or if there are some things in your job you don't like, that's just part of being a human being. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. But if you don't feel passionate, energized, engaged, in love with what you do, then you need to find something else. There are other jobs out there, and you can start in a small way to get started and work from there.
Yeah, so I think from a strategic perspective, and and this show is all about strategy. So what I want our audience to really listen to, what Mike's saying here, is that there's a difference between your right to be ridiculously happy 24/7, or whatever the 8, 10, 12 hours that you work, because there are things about our work that we don't like, and there are things about our work that we do like. I always say you just have to be good enough to know that once you can outsource what you don't like, so to know if they're doing a good job or not, because otherwise, how would you even know? Or the second piece of that is, Mike, where I believe that if we have a sense of curiosity about something versus this allowing us to actively dislike something, right? Because if I say, that's so interesting, what hinders me from doing this? Or why do I have such a resistance to picking up the phone and making the damn call, right? What is it about that? Am I ashamed? Do I not believe in what I do? So I think if I come in with curiosity, there is something in there. You said something really, really, really important, and I want everybody to listen to this, that there is no constitution for entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals that says you have to love everything you do all the time. Because you're absolutely right. It just doesn't exist. So now, going playful, what do you do when you catch yourself and you go, man, gosh, not that again? And you don't feel playful about something. What do you do? Do you have any tips for us?
Yeah, that's great. I think that's a really good question that I don't get very often, because most of the time people ask me, how do I play more? How do I get into more of what I want to do? But I think you bring up a really interesting point there, because there are some times where I go, gosh, I'm a creator, right? I just don't want to hit record. I don't want to turn the camera on. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like I look good today.
Bad hair day.
Good. Like I don't want to bring that energy. Thanks for the bad hair day. Yes, I don't have that problem. But I do still feel like, some days it's just not the day, right? And I think there are some questions you can ask yourself when you're feeling this. Again, is it like short term or long term? Do I always hate doing social media? Well, then maybe I should hire somebody to manage that. Like you said, we can delegate that. Is that I don't feel like doing social media today, which is another story. Is that something that can be put off so you can delay and things there and come back to when it is your strength? I think a lot of people overwork and they burn themselves out. When you're talking about entrepreneurs, there's no constitution either that says you have to work 80 hours a week and burn yourself out. Most of the research, modern research today, shows that if you work more than 60 hours for more than 6 weeks in a row, you produce less than if you had just worked 40 hours a week. So you can give yourself permission to take a break and come back to it with the right energy and attitude. But here's the best one. I think the best question you can ask yourself is, what am I afraid of right now? And because a lot of times what holds us back is what we don't like, because we feel like we're going to be judged, or we're not going to do it well, or we don't pick up that phone for a prospecting call because we're afraid they're going to say no. And so a lot of that is your own internal head trash that you can change. That if you really believed the person was going to buy, that you were going to help them, that they were going to be so grateful that you called, that they praise you and give you a positive review online, you would pick up that phone even if you didn't feel like it, right? We'll talk a little bit in Sandler about your prospecting beliefs. And if you really believe so much that you had like the cure for COVID or the cure for cancer, you would want to go tell everybody about that. If you were that energized and that confident in your belief, and I've heard you talk about abundance mindset before too. If you believe that good things were going to happen, that there was plenty of business out there, that you were going to get positive results, you would do most of the things, even if you didn't really like the activity. If you don't like sending invoices in the QuickBooks, or managing the project in Asana or something like that. Okay, great. That's not your thing. You're going to do that anyway if you're that excited about the results. I think a lot of people just miss that it's a lot of times comes down to the attitude and the motivation, and we're holding ourselves back because of something that we fear.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that the idea, people always say to me, because I'm an execution machine, and I don't know if that's because I'm German or because I just had such desire to do anything but where I was at, right? I needed to get out of that really bad. And then you just make it a habit, and then you keep up the habit. I think one of the key elements that, to your point, what am I afraid of, is sometimes you just don't ask yourself the question on whether or not you like it, or whether or not you feel like it. It's, in the mindset work that I do, we talk about the commitment, and David Nagel, my mindset trainer, talks about it, the commitment that you make. So if you say you're going to do it, it's a commitment you make for yourself. And then if you break the commitment to yourself, you just proven to yourself that you're not trustworthy. You're a liar. And if you don't believe that you can execute on your own word, who are you to ask other people to do the same thing?
Right.
So that's really the crazy part about this mindset and the abundance portion that we just talked about, is that it is okay to not like it, but you do it anyway. That's what you got courage for. That's what we're here for. That's really the human experience, or the human condition, is, am I going to give in to that? But I don't know. Is there a benefit in asking myself, do you ever ask yourself, do I feel like it or not? Or do you just go, this is what I said I was going to do, I'm going to do it?
I do. I think it is important to have a lot of self-reflection and self-awareness, especially in your business. And I love the way you phrased it. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but you said, do I not like it, or do I not feel like it? And I think those are two different things. If it's something you don't like, figure out a way to not do that. If it's something you don't feel like doing, that's something you can get over. You can do anyway. Right. So for me, it's hard because I feel like there's two sides of the same coin. I've really been trying to reevaluate my life and decide how many of those things actually even have to get done. Because a lot of it is societal pressure that says I have to have a get on TikTok now. Everybody says, oh, you have to get on TikTok. It's blowing up. Well, I don't have to. We've done business for thousands of years without being on TikTok. I'm pretty sure I can survive without it. If I love it, great, go do that. But how many of these things that you're regretting or avoiding are things that you actually have to do? I don't know that there's a whole lot that fall into that bucket. So I want to, flip things back towards the positive here and say, could you be doing instead that could make an even bigger impact? So I don't have to set an alarm or a block off my calendar to make sure that I eat enough pizza in a month. I love pizza so much. I know that it's going to happen, right?
No brainer here.
Yeah. And so there are other things too that we find time for no matter what. And unfortunately in our society, a lot of them are not great. So we can watch 6 hours of Netflix and binge a show, but we don't have time to make our prospecting calls or, to balance the books or whatever it is you're trying to avoid, or make a difficult decision. Firing somebody is another one like that, that's something that we don't like to do, but sometimes we have to do that for our business. So I think there are things that fall into that bucket. But other than those few exceptions, a lot of times I think we'd just be better off if we looked at something that we would prefer to do, that as long as it's going to move our life forward. So here's a good framework for you, Beate. I like